What up, B Squad? It is me, JB, and we are here today, you guys, just to briefly talk. I do not expect to be on here that long because it ain't much that I really want to talk about with this, but we're going to discuss the documentary that aired on Lifetime Saturday and Sunday of Where is Wendy Williams, you guys. Before we go ahead and get into it, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel, you guys aren't subscribed yet, then I need you guys to do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and then having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and also by turning on your post notifications, you guys. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this episode. Well, let's go ahead and get into this documentary. Shall All right, you guys. So the documentary premiered on Lifetime. Like I said, it premiered Saturday. So there were 2 episodes on Saturday and 2 episodes last night. So a total of 4 episodes. And this was filmed, I believe, in I think this was filmed last year, or it could have been, no, it wasn't filmed in 23. I think it was filmed in 22, because this is around the time that the Wendy Williams show ended. You guys remember the show ended, and remember they gave Sherry her show in Wendy's time slot. And I remember a lot of people were feeling a way about the fact that Sherry got the show, you guys. And I don't feel a way about it. They needed to do something, right? Wendy wasn't coming back to the show, and Sherry was a hit as her, as a guest co-host, right? As a guest host. So I guess for them, it made logical sense to do that. And now that we see where Wendy was in this particular time in her life, I remember when it was announced that Wendy's show was canceled. I definitely remember how I felt like, damn, like Wendy's show has been on for years, and that's what right? Like, I wasn't like an avid Wendy watcher, but if I was at home, like especially during the pandemic, we'll talk about that in a minute. During the pandemic, I got back into the daytime talk shows. Like, I got back heavily into watching The View, because I watch The View every day now. I was watching The View. I was watching The Real at the time. I was even watching Wendy Williams. What I will say about Wendy from home, you could see some things at that particular time that was like, it was like, okay, she's not remembering things. And I also felt that during that time, I felt like Wendy was going through some depression too, because you think about it, she was up there in New York by herself. Little Kev was down there in Miami at school, so it was just her. And I was just like, because it was just her and the cats and all of that, that gaudy furniture that she has, right? And I was just like, I know she can't be doing well, right? So then we get to, we get back to the audience, right? And she ended her final season on my birthday, July 16th, 2021, right? And then we went through the whole summer. And then I think it was I remember like it was yesterday. It was a few weeks before, because remember, they pushed her start date out for that fall. They pushed the start date out because they were trying to get her, she wasn't, well, right? You guys remember when she fell off the stage, when she had the Halloween thing, right? She has the Graves' disease. She has lymphedema. She has so many things, so many ailments. So remember, they pushed her start date out for Wendy, but then they couldn't push it out any longer. So that's when they had to go the route of, let's bring in guest hosts to host until Wendy is ready to come back. And you guys remember, they would never say when she was coming back. We got all the way up until it got to a certain point where I think people realized, okay, something is not right with Wendy. Wendy must be having some issues. You guys also remember Wendy revealed after her divorce from Kevin, or during the time of her divorce with Kevin, that she was living in a sober living house, right? So you just knew that there were a lot of things that were going on internally and behind the scenes with Wendy. both health-wise and mental things that were going on with her. So I always felt bad for Wendy. And then once they announced that the show was canceled and that she would be, she wouldn't be returning, that Sherry would take her spot, that's when this Will Selby character came out and announced that they were going to be doing the podcast, the Wendy Williams Experience. And if you guys go back and look at the Hot Topics videos, I said it then and I'll say it again now. I knew at that time, I said it and I didn't want it to be true, but I was just like, if Wendy wasn't on her show for an entire season, there is really something wrong with Wendy to the fact that she cannot get on this camera, right? So I was like, I don't think that she needs a podcast. I really didn't think she needed a podcast. And I believe I said it, and I might, if I didn't say it on camera, I know I've said it to other people, that when she was talking about living in a sober living house, I was like, Wendy is back on. I was thinking either Wendy has gotten back on drugs or Wendy is heavily drinking. And unfortunately, it was the latter, that she was drinking. And this documentary should have never saw the light of day, because now, going back to what I was earlier saying, the documentary was supposed to chronicleize her return to, her show, the podcast as well as back to television, right? Because they were shopping her around. But as we can see in this documentary, nobody wanted to do that, because anybody with eyes, with the exception of maybe Will Selby and that girl Sean, anybody with eyes could see that there was some cognitive decline in Wendy. When Wendy sat down, when she first started, when Wendy sat down, you could look at Wendy's eyes. Although we know that the Graves is what makes her eyes bulge, right? But look behind that. If you just look at her when she was just sitting there, Wendy was, it was just nothing there. I didn't see much. I didn't see the Wendy that we're used to seeing on How You Doing. I didn't see that. I didn't see that Wendy. And I was like, these people are just using her for her money or for whatever fame whatever they think that they can get from Wendy. That's what I was like, these people are doing. They're not doing this with her health or anything, right? Because even when her nephew was talking, and he was talking about, he may not like his uncle, but what he will say is his uncle made sure that his aunt was on time to things, that she wasn't drinking and all that kind of stuff. And yes, I will agree with you. We can say whatever we want to say about Kevin, right? Kevin was a terrible person to her, a terrible husband to her. But the one thing he did not do, we would have never saw Wendy in this light. When I saw it, I was like, these are things Wendy Williams would never do. Wendy would never, number one, pull her fucking wig all the way off so you can see her hair. Wendy would never do that. Her makeup, she looks so disheveled. Like the clothing she's wearing, how frail she is. These are things that Wendy Williams the Wendy that we know would have never done, right? And I know people are out there saying that this is her karma, right? I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I disagree with that, and I'm gonna tell you guys why I disagree with that. Yes, Radio Wendy was a lot. People hated her people hated Radio Wendy. If you guys actually go back and remember when she put out her movie in 2020, right? Was that 2020 when the movie came out? Because I did a review of it. She did the movie. After the movie came the documentary, and then, but I had already knew this. I knew this prior to that documentary because when the Wendy Williams show first started, I was so curious to see how was this going to be, because everybody in the industry basically hated Wendy, and I was like, she's not going to be able to get people on this show. And that was the truth. Nobody for the, I think at least the first season, for a little while in the first season, she didn't have any guests on the show because nobody wanted to work, nobody wanted to come on her show because of the things that she said on the radio about people, right? She said things that you guys remember. She said shit about Total. She said, remember her infamous interview with Whitney Houston on the radio, her with Judge Mathis, right? Like, and I think I said this in that video then. She said she was one of the people who talked about Usher and Chilli's relationship and the fact that they broke up. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Wendy that said Usher had cheated on Chilli, right? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I know she has some things to say. So during the beginning of her show, no one wanted to come on and work with her, right? Because of the things that she has done in the past. But just because of the things that she's done and said about people, this documentary was not it. And I know her niece Alex said that, Wendy was the executive producer, and that's fine, right? But this just doesn't paint her in the best light. It doesn't show her it just does not show Wendy healthy. It doesn't show her, she's not lucid because it came out that she has, dementia. And you can see that. But the thing that blew me was that Sean girl the Sean girl. When them producers kept asking her about Wendy, and she's like, well, I don't see it. It's like, you see it, but you don't want to see it, right? You and Will see it. And Will is a nasty piece of work. When Wendy went out to LA and she called him on the phone and he screamed at her, I was like, that is somebody's mother, that is someone's daughter, that is someone's sister. Would you want somebody to do that to your family member? Scream at them, right? Like, it's just terrible. Then they talked about this situation with Wells Fargo freezing her money. She still has no access to the money. This conservatorship that she's under, it seems like it's very much similar to what happened with Britney Spears, right? What I will say is, one thing I want to point out, but this could be just, siblings, they fight with each other, right? Because you guys know Tommy and Wendy, they done butted heads quite a few times on social media, on her show, social media. They butted heads with each other. But at the end of the day, their brother and sister and family members fight with each other. And, I see a lot of people saying that they don't trust her family. It's not necessarily her family that I don't trust. It's the people around her. Like little Kevin said, Wendy has a lot of yes people around her. And Will is a yes person. Sean is a yes person. When Wendy then went to go get that vape stuff, right? They drove around that block a few times. That right there was letting you know that her mental, even the driver had to say she's not, she's forgetting things. You think the woman has dementia. Like, it's obvious that she doesn't remember things, right? And then what else happened? Now I know people are talking about the fact that when Lil Kev and his cousin Travis, and they were talking about so part of the reason I think that they froze a Wells Fargo account is because I guess they were trying to say Lil Kevin was taking money from her. And they talked about one point that her credit card, she spent $100,000 in Uber Eats, right? Now, for the average person, for us, yes, $100,000 in Uber Eats, that's a lot of money, right? That is a lot of money. But you guys also have to think about who we're talking about here, right? We're talking about Wendy Williams. Woman is, Wendy Williams is not like us, you guys. Her and her son, they're not regular people. They're regular people, but they don't live a regular lifestyle like we do, right? We may go to, we may do Uber Eats for Burger King, McDonald's, any, Raising Cane's, things of that nature. Those things don't cost that much money, but you guys have to think about it. They're in New York and Miami, right? And they're not eating at smaller restaurants. They're eating at big restaurants where he's probably coming out spending over, $150 for, but $150 to $200 for each person, right? So yes, that's going to add up, and it depends on how many times they're actually eating out. So the $100,000 was a lot of money, but I wanted to say that you guys remember they're different. They don't live like we do, right? They have much more money than we do. They go to, like I said, extravagant restaurants. If you heard Wendy when her and Sean were in LA, when she asked about the restaurant, she has expensive taste. Like, so I didn't take that to be too much, right? For them. But it's just it's sad. Like, and last night I tried to watch the second parts 3 and 4. I had to turn it off because I started crying because when I saw Wendy with her son and her nephew, that broke my heart. Then seeing her with Black China, that broke me too. That broke me because when she was with Black China, there was no, I don't know who, that was a shell because she had spaced out. Like, you could look at her and see that she had spaced out. I was with her niece Alex when Alex was like, when Sean came in and Sean was like, "Oh, I like to hug," and Alex was looking at her like, "I don't know you," and she got up and walked away and said, "I don't know that woman." Like, how long have you known my aunt? Been around Wendy for a year at that point, and I was like, this is just terrible. And then on top of that, I don't understand. I've wondered this for quite some time. Like, why didn't the court or whoever, why didn't they appoint someone in Wendy's family? Now, I know a lot of people were saying, why not little Kevin? He is a young man, you guys. I don't feel like little Kev should be responsible for his mom. I honestly do not. I think that he should be able to be a normal 20-something-year-old young man, go to school, live his life, right? Give that to someone that is capable to handle things for Wendy, like her sister Wanda, or even Alex. Alex seems like she's a grounded young lady who has her head on her shoulders, right? And I think Alex has her aunt's best interest at heart. That's just how I feel, you guys. You guys may agree or disagree, and that's fine. We can all have a difference of opinion, right? But I do not at all, no parts of me trust Will Selby or that Sean girl. No parts of me trust them, and I think they need to be removed from her life. Even the Guardian. I don't like the Guardian didn't even want to be named on this thing, so they bleeped and redacted the Guardian's name. It's not a good look. It really isn't. Like, I just don't know how to, I just don't, I didn't feel good watching it. I really didn't feel good at all watching it. I think at this point it's okay for Wendy to just live in a retirement. She's made enough money, although she doesn't have access to it. Wendy has contributed so much to radio. She's contributed so much to daytime television. She is going to go down as an icon, as a great, right? And I would have preferred to never saw this, right? It doesn't change how I feel about Wendy. It shows you that ultimately people only care about their bottom line and the almighty dollar, right? Because also when Wendy and old girl Sean went out to LA, and they went to go to NBC Universal, it's like, why would you drag this woman to a meeting? You know she's not of sound mind and body to have this meeting. Now, there are moments where you can see glimpses of Wendy. There are definitely moments where you can see glimpses of her. But this was not the one nor the two. I don't I don't have a good feeling about this, you guys. It was just terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Let me see. Is there anything else that I want to discuss before I hop off of here? I don't know if there's anything else that I want to discuss. Yeah, I think that was it. I didn't like this at all. Nothing good came from it. Again, I know that this was supposed to be about her going back, doing the podcast and getting back on television, right? But no deals came through, and Will knew that. See, also, Wendy was drinking. At one point, Will found that bottle of, I think it was vodka that she had drank. I was like, oh my God. Like, I can't even stomach vodka. Like, vodka is nasty to me. Only time I will drink vodka is if it's mixed with something, because vodka makes me sick. Like, I can't drink vodka. Can't drink it straight, because if I drink it straight, it's coming right back up. That's how nasty it is to me. And I used to drink it all the time when I was in college, right? But he didn't want her drinking, but him not wanting Wendy to drink was for him, not for Wendy. Will not wanting Wendy to drink was literally selfish of him. He was doing it so that way he can make sure that he was able to prop her up and push her out there to try to get these deals, right? The one thing that threw me for a loop was when she went to her childhood home, right? They were on the street, Wendy Williams Way. She didn't even know where her home was. The woman, or was that a woman or was that a man? The person that was with them, they were like, your house is that way because the sign is pointing toward the direction of her home. And I was like, oh my God. Even them doing that photo shoot out there on the street, I was like, the Wendy that we know would never, these are things that she would never do. Once again, she would never pull her wig off on camera. Now she may pull. I know over the years, Wendy, if she had a note for herself, she would pull it. She would lift up her wig a little bit and pull it out of her wig. She would pull things out of her wig. But Wendy ain't never once just slid that wig all the way back. It wasn't it. It wasn't it. And as I always say, it's a special place and down there for anyone. You guys know how I feel when it comes down to the elderly, children, or people who are defenseless. At this current moment, Wendy cannot say what she wants and what she doesn't want because her mind is not completely there. It's going to be like, and you could even see it, right? You could really see it. When she was talking to Sean, when she told Sean she needed liposuction, sit down, stand up. Like, I don't think that Wendy was a rude person, but when people have early onset dementia, they become mean to people. And Wendy was mean to damn near everybody. Like, at one point when Will came over to her home, she did this to him. She did that to the camera. At one point, she's like, are you guys taking pictures? They were like, yeah. She's like, and I was like, okay. But she gave Will the middle finger at one point, and then because she went to sleep. He was like, I'll give you an hour. She was like, I'm gonna need longer than an hour. And then she got up and she's like, oh my God. She was like, oh, I didn't recognize you. I didn't know it was you. And I was like, these are classic warning signs that the woman is not all the way there. And so I think it was in last night's part, I think it was in part 3 or going into part 4, when little Kevin finally came out and said that the doctors has ruled that this is dementia and it's an alcohol-induced dementia. Like, I just really felt bad, you guys, but that is all I wanted to say. That's all I want to say. Like I said, if you guys watched my short, I had been debating. I actually watched all of it. I watched part 1 and 2 Sunday morning because I didn't want to watch it Saturday night. And I saw people tweeting about it and how it was so many bad reactions to it. I was like, so that means that it's really bad, right? If social media is talking about it, if social media is talking about it in a negative way, it's not a good thing. So I was like, you know what, let's watch it. And then I watched it. I was like, after I watched it, I literally regretted watching it, and I still today regret watching it. I wish I didn't watch it. But if you guys did watch it, feel free to, leave your comments down in the comment section, you guys. Subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, and share the video, you guys. And until the next time, stay safe, you guys. Take care of yourselves, wash your hands, be blessed, and I'll see you guys later. And before I close out of here, you guys, let's send up a prayer for Wendy and her family, right? Because they desperately need the prayers. They need every prayer that they can get. And I'm going to pray to the good Lord that he removes the negative spirits that are around her, right? The negative people that are around her. Anybody that is a hindrance, that doesn't want to help her, that only have ulterior motives, I'm going to pray that he removes them from that woman's life, because that is what she needs. She needs people that are going to be around her, that are going to love on her and protect her, and not protect their pockets and their bottom lines. That is all I got to say, you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next one. So that'll be Potomac and Married to Medicine later today. Bye, y'all.